Were you excited by this unfolding of these new devices? Were you underwhelmed? How does it position Samsung going forward?
Thanks for having me on your program. The Samsung's Galaxy Unpack event is an annual event, so these models have been launched like pretty much, like twice a year, the Galaxy series. And so this Galaxy Note, the Note 20 model is just a follow-up from last year's Galaxy Note 10. So, nothing too exciting, I would say. Last year, this Galaxy Note model sold about 11 to 12 million units compared to 290 million or so units they sold globally overall. And this year, we're expecting Galaxy Note to sell about 8 to 9 million units versus their total shipment, expected shipments of about 250 million.
Right. There's a lot of focus on the 5G phone, the Ultra. Is there that demand then for premium devices like that, given the COVID impact and the recessions that we're seeing across the globe?
5G penetration, I think it will accelerate next year. This year, 5G rollouts in developed markets, especially U.S. and Europe, has been affected because of COVID-19. 5G penetration is doing better than expected in China, but unfortunately, Samsung has very small, tiny presence in the Chinese market, so it's not going to help Samsung's 5G shipments. In China, 5G shipments are now almost 60% of the total smartphone shipments there. So China is leading the pack, but 5G momentum will come to Europe and U.S. Later this year and next year. So this year we're expecting Samsung's 5G shipments to be like less than between 25 to 30 million units, so which would be about 10 to 12% of their total shipments.
So 5G then, in terms of profits of Samsung, that doesn't really become a serious prospect, it sounds like, until probably 2021. Is that the right way to look at it?
Yes, you're right. So 5G will become a major driver of the smartphone shipments and profits next year, not this year.
Looking at the chip side of the business, what are the hoops they've got to go through at the moment, and how do they benefit, if at all, from what's been going on at Intel?
So, the chips, semiconductors overall will be about 65% of the total profit, and DRAM and NAND memory, where they have global leadership, will be about 60% of the total profit. So, in DRAM and NAND, they maintain their position, but in the second half, we are expecting like a short down cycle. Prices for DRAM and NAND will decline by about 5% on an average per quarter in third and fourth quarter. That will affect their semiconductor earnings momentum. But for the foundry side, which is about 5% of their total revenue and profit, we can expect some momentum. They have won recently orders from likes of Cisco and Qualcomm, and Intel's production issues for 7 nanometer means that they stand to get some orders, at least I would expect so in near future.
What does China's push to make more chips indigenously mean for Samsung here? And I know you won't be able to talk much about SMIC, but how does that fit into this?
So, Samsung's bulk of the profit, revenue and profit on the semiconductor side is from DRAM and NAND chips. Currently, China's presence in this memory semiconductors is quite tiny, and even if we go with their stated plans for the next 3 to 5 years, I think China's presence in the memory semiconductor will remain quite minimal. First, I expect them to become a little bit of a competitor to Samsung in NAND memory, and then maybe in the next 5 years, DRAM as well. So it's actually a longer-term target, and implications for Samsung will be in the longer term, and that's why Samsung is looking to diversify its its semiconductor revenue source away from memory into non-memory as well. So non-memory includes foundry, image sensors, and some other parts of the semiconductor industry. So longer term, Samsung is looking to expand its non-memory semiconductor business.
Sanjeev, final question from me, and that it's a more esoteric one in the sense that it does seem as though the smartphone side of things, I'm sorry I'm dialing back to that, the smartphone side of things is becoming a bit commoditized. What's going to be the next big thing in that arena?
I mean, the smartphone commoditization has been talked about, for the last 10 years. But look at Apple. It has become almost becoming $2 trillion company. So I mean, as long as you have brand and the technology, and you execute correctly, I still think this industry can be quite profitable. So Samsung, like Apple, it corners about 70% of the smartphone industry's profit. Despite the unit shipments, is only about 15% of the total, and Samsung has another 15 to 20%. So more like 85% of the industry's profit goes to these two companies, Samsung and Apple. And the reason is that they have these high-end models where customers are willing to pay a price premium, between over $500 to $1,000 range. And as long as Samsung maintains its presence in these high-end phones, I think smartphone profit will remain pretty robust. But in terms of growth, we think the growth will come from the foldable phones, which currently is a very small part of the overall market. So this year we're expecting only about 3-4 million units of foldable phones compared to global smartphone market about 1.2 to 1.3 billion units. But foldables will continue to grow, and in the coming years we can expect foldable phones to be about 50 million units in terms of shipments. And this foldable phones can be quite profitable if Samsung can sell them at a scale. So foldable will be the next profit driver for the smartphone business.